Okay, now we're gonna work, this should be what you have if you've top stitched. So you should have something kind of like this. You can see I top stitched it about that far from the edge. You can do it closer. I wouldn't recommend farther, but you can do it closer to the edge if you want to. So we've got something kind of like this. Okay, that's done, so now we're ready to work on the bottom part. And all you have to do, this is what we're going to learn next time in class. So this is just the part for the first class. That's what you're supposed to make. Alright, so we've got our pattern here. Remember we talked about this thing right here that says dart. So what you're going to do is take your piece that you've got cut out and just kind of use your chalk to sort of make a mark where it comes out on the end. And then I'm going to go up here, make a dot sort of where my pattern, and then I'll just draw me a line. I sort of drew on my fabric my dart. So do that on each side. And this doesn't have to be super exact. If you want to get super exact, you can cut you out a little piece of paper in this triangle shape and draw around it on both corners so that you have the exact. And see, I can tell by looking at my two right here, I can tell that already they're not the same width. One of them is wider than the other. So you can adjust that. Y'all know me, I'm not a perfectionist, so I'm not hugely concerned. Okay, so here I am. I'm going to do that on all four pieces of my fabric. The one that I cut for the inside and the one for the outside of the purse, or for the reversible side, so to speak. So I'm drawing my darts on there. Okay, so now after I do that on all four pieces, what I'm going to do is take and sew my darts in. We may actually do this in class. So right here I'm folding it over and I'm matching the chalk marks to each other. And then I'm just going to kind of sew right there, sort of where it ends. So I'm just holding it with my finger. Like, you can make a mark, you can measure, you can do it with a pen, whatever. So this is sort of where my dart ended, and this is where the chalk is on the other side. So I'm just gonna take my sewing machine, start where my chalk mark is, and just sew out on top of that. So see, I got something sort of like this. This is what it looks like on the good side. And this is what it looks like where I sewed it. See, you can either start here and sew down that way, or you can start here and sew out. So you're going to do that on both corners of all four pieces of your fabric. So I'm going to do that to all four pieces of my fabric, and I'll be back. Okay, so we've put our darts in all of our corners. We sewed our darts in. And the reason for that is for when you get the bag done and you put something in the bag, it sort of makes the darts make the bag have a bottom. If it was just curved flat, it would be just like a pointy bag, and when you put something in it, it would bulge out. But this way, you can put stuff in it, and it makes it have kind of a bottom. It'll set like that, putting the darts in it. Okay. Now so we're going to sew these together, and what we would do is put right sides together of the lining and then right sides together of the outer fabric. But I don't like to call it that because, you know, I use mine reversible, so one of them's not going to be a lining, it's going to be outside when it's turned out. But I'm doing something different. I'm wanting to add a pocket, and the pattern does not call for a pocket, and I don't know how this is going to turn out, but I'm going to try it. So you're going to cut out 2 squares of fabric, and I will bring a pattern for this Monday. But it's 5 by 7 inches, and I did mine out of contrasting fabric because I want to add a 3rd fabric to each side of mine. So one's going to be for the inside, one's for the outside. So what we're going to do to make our pocket is we just cut our little square of fabric 5 by 7, and then on the top we're going to fold it once, iron it, and fold it again. Remember how I taught y'all making a hem like that? I can't remember what project we did that on. But fold it over once and then iron it so that it's flat, and fold it the second time. I didn't iron mine. Y'all know I have a tendency to fly by the seat of my pants, so hopefully this works out. By the way, I hope you ironed all your fabric before you started the project, because it's really going to be really hard to iron it after it's made. I did do that. So here I folded it over once, a little tiny seam, and then folded it over again, and now I'm sewing it down. And that's going to be the top of my pocket. Like my pocket sewed on there, and this will be the part that you reach in. So see, I just folded it over again, and sewed it. Now on this part, I'm just folding it one time and stitching it down, because it's not going to be seen. It's going to be inside the pocket. If you want to do it right, zigzag the edge or serge the edge to keep it from unraveling. But like I said, it's going to be hidden inside the pocket, so I'm just folding it over once. Just a little, probably 3/8 or less fold over. And then just sewing the fold over. So I'm doing that to the sides and the bottom. Okay, so this is what we ended up with. I've got my pocket. It's hemmed on all sides. The top, it's folded over twice so that my edge is sealed, because that part will be, you know, able to be seen with the pockets pulled out. The other 3 sides are just folded over once and then stitched. Okay, so now we've got to apply that to one of our pieces. And I'm totally making this up as I go, because the pattern does not call for a pocket. So I'm going to measure to the middle. I'm going to take my bottom of my bag, and I'm going to measure how wide it is. It's approximately 16 inches wide. So I'm going to mark it in the middle at 8 inches, so I know what the middle is. Again, my pocket, well, now that it's hemmed, it's 6.5 inches wide, so like 3 1/4. I'm going to measure 3 1/4 and make a stitch. Now, so this is where I'm matching up where I marked the chalk mark on the fabric and where I marked it halfway on the pocket. But we cannot go all the way up to the edge and sew this on like that, because we're fixing to attach this fabric to our handle, and we're going to be sewing along here, so the pocket would be sealed off. You wouldn't be able to get into it. So we've actually got to drop the pocket down below it so that we can make our seam and not sew the pocket shut. So since I usually make about a 3/8 seam, I'm going to measure down 3/4 of an inch and attach my pocket there. Okay, I've got my pocket. I'm going to pin it to keep it right there so that I can stitch it on 3 sides to attach my pocket to my panel. Okay, so here I've pinned it on. This is what it's going to look like. You're going to pin your pocket on 3/4 of an inch down from the edge in the middle of your panel, one of your panels. So now I'm just going to sew it by sewing over the top of my seam where I hemmed it. I'm sorry, it's hard for me to get used to this camera. I'm looking at it backwards from where I'm at. So I'm just going to stitch on top stitch this, I'll follow my seam where I hemmed it to attach it. Okay, take my pins out. So now I've got a pocket sewed on one of my panels. See, I can put my hand down in there. Okay, now I'm going to make a pocket and put it on one of the other panels. This is the panel that goes on the outside. Now I'm going to make one for the purse that goes on the inside. So I'm going to do that and I'll be back. Okay, now I've got my pocket sewed on one of my inside panels and one of my outside panels. Okay, so we're going to take the 2 outside panels first and sew them right sides together. Remember, the good sides facing each other. One of them's going to have a pocket on it. And you're going to want to kind of, because of this dart, you're going to kind of want to feel. Now, the instructions say to mash the dart in. See, if your darts don't match up exactly, that's fine. Mine didn't on some of my purses I made. On this one, actually happens to match up. I didn't even plan that. But the instructions say to mash, to kind of like open the dart up and mash it flat. Let me see if I can even get it to do it. Kind of like that. And then pin it and sew it down. But I don't bother to do that. I just kind of turn my flaps one direction and one the other so that they're not on top of each other in a big, like that, and a big bulky thing to try to sew across. I just fold one way and one the other. See? That way, just sew it down. So, you might want to pin that corner. And then just fit your 2 pieces together, and mine's actually fitting together really good. I have had some that kind of had to work around because they didn't match real good. This came out really good this time. Okay, so see, I've kind of got my 2 pieces pinned together, and I'm just going to sew it. I'm not sewing this big long straight part. That's going to attach to our band that we made earlier. I'm sewing around the curved part and around the bottom. Okay, I'm going to do that. Once again, I'm just kind of doing it along the edge of my foot, 3/8 seam, but you're more than welcome to do a 1/2 inch seam. And you can do all 1/2 inch seams. When we attached that pocket just now, we moved it 3/4 of an inch down so that we don't got to worry about it. One around that corner there. Okay, so I've got it sewed together. So see, if you opened it up, that's the inside right there, the good part. Trying to remember how to do this. Okay. Well, first we need to go ahead and sew our other material together the same way. So I'm going to do that and then I'll be right back. Okay. Now something I forgot to tell you was on your second one that you sew together, the one that's going to be kind of your lining, or the one you're going to use the least, that's going to have the hidden spot where we flip this whole bag, sew it together, flip it inside out and all that. And so it's going to have a little tiny top stitch on the bottom. So I try to do it on the side of the bag that I think I will use the least. So on my second one I sewed all the way around, but I left a spot in the middle here. I don't know if you can see, like right here, probably about, let me measure it. I left an opening about 5 inches wide right here at the bottom of the bag. So I sewed around the curve and up the top, but I left an opening about 5 inches wide in the bottom so you can pull it apart. So here's the top, the part we're going to attach to the bag. Okay, so we're going to take one and turn it right side out. One of the bottoms that we made. Okay, so here's one of mine. There's the little pocket attached. That's how it's going to be. Now, here's our strap that we made. Make sure if you have it turned like this, it looks like the top of a jumper. This is wrong. You need to open it up to where it looks like a circle in the middle, so that it's the handbag. So I've got my bag turned the right way. I'm going to turn it upside down. And here's this. This is right side out. So I'm opening it up and I'm putting that in there. And I'm coming all the way up to the top right here. So like, I don't know if that makes sense to you, but I'm lining up the raw edges of my strap and the raw edges of my bag. So, see if I can get it lined up there, and then I'll fold it up and you can kind of see. So if I line up my raw edges, and it's going to be through all the layers. This is going to feel bulky because you're through your top piece, your back piece, and your interfacing is in there. And then you're through one side of your bag. And I'm going to pin it so that I can fold it up and show y'all what's going to happen when I sew that. Okay. So I pinned it, so if I fold it up, you can kind of see how it's attached, and that's how it's going to be when the bag is sewed on. So I'm putting that back in there. So it's the part that I turned right side out. So the good side of my fabric is touching the good side of one of my straps. So I'm going to pin that all the way around. See what I'm doing? Got it opened up. Can you see how I've got it on there? And I'm pinning these raw edges right here together all the way around, and that's what I'm going to be sewing. So let me pin this. You might want to look in there and make sure your edges are lined up the best that you can. Pin it down about an inch from the edge, because remember we're going to be making a 1/2 inch or less seam on the edge, so if we pin down about an inch from the edge, we'll be sewing inside our pins. So I'm lining up those edges. And if your bag or your band, one is smaller than the other and it doesn't really fit, just kind of make you a couple of pleats somewhere to make it fit. And it looks like my bag part is a little smaller than my band part. Got me some kind of wrinkles in there, but and the edge of your bag, should match up. The seam on the edge of your bag should match up with one of the seams on your band strap, and mine doesn't, so I'm gonna actually go back and repin that, see if I can get it straightened up a little bit. Okay, let's match that one up, and let's match this one up, and then just work in the rest of the material in the middle. Take my pins all back out where it already pinned the middle. Should have done that first, try to match those two seams up. Okay, got those two seams matched up best as I can. Now I'm just going to take middle on each side. Pin it together. I'm going to do what I call a Megan pin for this. I'm going to pin it sides, the middle, and in between, because this is very bulky and very confusing and lots of layers, so I want it all pinned together so that when I'm sewing I do not have to fight anything. One more. So yeah, my bag strap part is a little bit wider than my bag bottom part, so I've got a few wrinkles in there. Hopefully when I sew it all together it'll just kind of work its way in. Okay, so you're seeing what I did. I inserted my bag up into my strap that was upside down, and I pinned the raw edges together. And now I'm going to sew, make me a seam all the way around there. So I don't know if you can see the bottom of the bag in there. I'm going to sew about 3/8 to a 1/2 inch seam all the way around. Then we'll the machine got to wad up now. Come on. Let's see if we can hurry up and go all the way around. This video is going to be like an hour long, so I might have to edit, splice it to pieces, because you're going to be bored out of your mind watching it. I'm trying to explain everything so that you're not left wondering this time. Wow, it's really wadding up on me. My band must be way bigger than the bottom of my bag. So what I'm going to do is when I get to a seam down here, am I in the middle? Oh yeah, I'm in the middle. Can't work in my excess yet. Okay, so now I'm on the edge and I've got quite a bit of fabric left over there, so I'm just gonna kind of make me a gather right there to take up my excess. I folded it over and I'm sewing it in. No, a professional would never do that. They would take it back apart and make it match. Let out the seam in the bag or take up the seam in the bag depending on the bottom part. But I'm not a professional. So I'm going to have to rip some of this out because of that excess. I need to end on the edge of the bag since I'm going to be folding it over, not in the middle because it's going to be noticeable. So I'm going to go back and, because I started stitching in the middle of the bag, not on the edge. Okay, where's the edge? Right there. Okay. Okay, so there I sewed all the way around, so it's now attached. So I'm going to fold it up, and this will give you an idea of what the outside's going to look like. So I'm going to open it up. So there we go. See, it's attached. Sewed them together, but that does not take care of the inside. We still got a raw thing in there. So I'm going to fold that back down how I just sewed it together. Now this is going to seem weird. Now we're going to take our other part, we're going to leave it like that. We're not going to turn it right side out. We're going to leave it wrong side. See, it's the wrong side showing. And this is the one that has the hole in the bottom, the space that we left. So we're going to take this whole part right here that we just did, we're going to put it down inside that bag. So see, this time I'm matching the raw edges, and the handles and the band is inside the bag instead of the bag being inside it. So I'm stuffing it down in there. So I've got right sides together again. It's the right side of the band and the right side of that, and the right sides are touching each other. Once again, I'm going to line up the edges, a seam on the band with a seam on the bag part. We're going to pin those together first. Now you're sewing through y'all want to know what I forgot? My interfacing. But all is not lost. I have not sewed it together yet. Here's my 2 pieces of interfacing. Remember those 2 pieces that's in your bag? I can have my darts on here. Sew my darts in real quick. Okay, the interfacing should have been sewed in when we did that first piece, but I forgot it. So now I'm putting it in now. So I made my bag the same way I did my fabric, put my darts in, sewed my 2 pieces of interfacing together. Now I'm putting it inside the bag. And probably I should go ahead and stitch that all around, but since I'm used to working with lots of pieces of things at one time, I'm just trying to hurry up and finish this. And I should have sewed that interfacing when I was making my first bag, the outside part. I should have sewed this interfacing. I should have put it on the wrong side of the fabric and sewed it in together with it. So what I'm doing right here is an aggravating step. So in class I will try to show y'all the right way to do it. Okay, so I've put my whole, remember here's my thing, the thing I sewed together. I'm putting the whole thing down in this last one. I did not turn this last one right side out. It's inside out, but when you see it together, see there's the good side of my strap, and here's the good side of so good sides are touching each other. Finding the corners here, pinning my corners together. So yeah, you're sewing through a lot of layers now, and I hope you did not use a thick fabric like I did. If this gets too thick, I may have to take it out on my upholstery machine and sew it together. But you should have been using a cotton, just a normal cotton sewing fabric. So it should be doable. Just go slow, put your thick needle on if you have to. The one I'm making in class is thin fabric, so we'll see how it does. Ooh, I'm getting some, with my seams right there, I'm getting some thick wads. Probably should have laid them open. So I'm trying to pin everything together now. Of course, you shouldn't be having to fight your interfacing like I am, because it should have been sewed in when we made the first bag bottom. So that was a boo-boo on my part. Like I said in class Monday, I will try to do it the right way. Okay, I'll try to sew all this together now. We're gonna find out. Again, I'm about a 1/2 inch from the edge. I want to be securely pinned at this point because you got a lot of pieces that could be moving around there. You don't want to do all this sewing only to discover you didn't catch something. Here it's time for the reveal. Let's take our pins out. Okay, so we've got interfacing on the inside. Everything's sewed. You can feel it's all bulky. Now remember that hole we left in the bottom? Gotta reach in there and start pulling the bag out. Turning it right side out. You get to see this is the first time I've made one with a pocket. I have no idea what it's going to look like. Okay, that worked out just fine. There's my pocket. Okay, now here's that line and I'm pulling it up with the hole right here. So we're just going to, we've worked with openings like that before, so you just fold it in, and if you want an invisible seam, just whip stitch it closed by hand with a needle and thread. It's just a little bitty short one, but I'm always impatient. So I'm just folding mine in and doing a little bitty tiny seam on the edge, and I'm using brown thread because it's on brown fabric, and I'm hoping it's not going to be real noticeable when my bag so I'm just sewing closed that opening. There we go. I sewed closed the opening in my lining. Now I push it down in my bag. I've got a pocket on the inside. So away. There's my bag. It's reversible. Let's see what the other side looks like. Turn it all right side out. And there's the other side of my bag.